A couple videos back, I did a video that was 5 things I wish I knew when I started shooting videos. And if there's one thing that is more complicated than learning how to start shooting videos, that's starting to edit and having no idea how you should be doing anything or why your videos don't look as amazing as some of the pro people that you see on YouTube or other platforms. So in today's video, I thought it would be super helpful for you guys if I share 5 tips that I wish I had have known when I first started editing. There's probably a couple extra bonus tips because when I was writing these down, I thought of way too many and they were all too good to get rid of. So 5, but couple extra ones. Today's video is sponsored by Zyro. They are a really simple online website builder, and we're going to talk about them a little bit later on in this video. Let's start off with one that is not necessarily the most exciting, but one that you're going to probably be the most grateful for if you put the time in to learn, and that's to learn a couple of shortcut keys for while you're editing. You can go into the menu in Premiere, you can see what all of the shortcut keys do. You can also set out your own custom keys to make your process as smooth and streamlined as you can possibly have. There's no reason to be like clicking on the different tools and then clicking to cut or split a clip. You can all just do that with a button. I've set mine up so I can conveniently control everything from right here on my left hand, and all of my keys are pretty much these ones right here, and then my other hand is obviously on the mouse. Makes it way easier. I can just go through it like that. So just check it out. If you guys have Premiere or Final Cut Pro, there's somewhere in there that you can just look at all of the shortcut keys that are already available and also customize them. You're going to be so grateful. You're going to speed up your workflow so you can put all of that creative energy into actually making your piece better rather than clicking on little tools and other things. Pointless. The second thing I want to talk to you guys about is a little bit more of a creative one, and that is to cut on the actions and make sure you don't have any dead spots in your edit. Often when I see kind of beginner edits, they are cut after the action has already ended, it's already happened, and then there's like a little lull period, and then it cuts into the new clip that starts off with a little lull period and then plays out the action, and then there's a lull period again. And what you want to do is actually cut in the actions, and it's going to make your little edit so much more interesting, fast-paced, and more engaging for the viewer. And at the end of the day, all you're trying to do is create something that the person that's wanting to watch it can't take their eyes off and they glue to that screen. So when you're playing out a video clip, don't necessarily play out the whole thing. When it's in an action, cut that action. It's gonna make it so that as soon as that person is watching that thing, you cut it, and then all of a sudden there's something else on the screen. They gotta figure out what's going on there and then adjust to the next one and adjust to the next one, and it keeps it fast and interesting. Of course, you can sometimes have slower sections, and having different pockets of editing and speeds in your videos is very important, but for the most part, if you want something to be exciting, cut on those actions, keep it interesting, next thing, next thing, next thing. It's gonna make it way more pleasing for the viewer to watch. Something else you guys have probably heard me say in some of my shooting videos and explaining some ways to shoot the actual content is that it's really important to keep the direction of flow across your screen going the same direction. Now, why is this good for editing? Because sometimes all of us are just inevitably going to shoot our content going the wrong way, and that clip isn't going to fit with the rest of the clips. But what if that clip is essential for our little piece? It means that we are really going to need it, and there's a couple things we can do to save it. If you're not sure what I mean, basically what I'm saying is that it's a good idea to keep any of your motion going in the same direction across your screen. If there's someone walking down the street, you don't want one shot showing them going left to right and then in the next shot going right to left, because it's going to give the illusion that that person was going somewhere and now they're heading back to where they came from because they're going the opposite direction on that screen. So keep everything flowing in the same way. Likewise, if you guys are doing a little B-roll sequence, if you are doing some camera movements and maybe you're sliding left to right, you want to keep that direction all the same. It's going to flow away nicely. Your shots are going to work well together. And that's where I get to my point for this tip. If you guys get back to the editing room and one of those clips are essential for your edit, there's a couple of last minute hacks that we can do in hopes of saving that. The first one is going to be to apply a horizontal flip to that clip. And basically, if you've got someone moving in a certain direction, you can flip that clip, it's gonna mirror it over, and they're gonna be moving in the opposite direction. Of course, you have to be kind of careful with some things like this. Maybe if there's some writing in your footage, all of that writing is gonna be reversed, or if there's a very obvious background and the background is all of a sudden flipped, it's maybe not gonna make the most sense. But you can get away with this surprisingly a lot of the time. The other option that you guys have is to reverse that clip. So if it's not something that is obvious which way it's going, maybe someone riding a bicycle is gonna look weird if they're riding a bicycle backwards. If it's something that doesn't have any kind of crazy movement, it's just like a forest or something like that, you can reverse speed that clip and it's gonna play in the opposite direction. Or maybe it was like a punch in and you wanted it to be a punch out. By applying that reverse, it's gonna do the same thing, and it can often work really, really well. The next thing is gonna be to use speed ramps and pockets of pacing in your edit. So let's see how you can actually apply that to one of your edits that you're working on. A speed ramp is a great way to emphasize something important in a certain clip, or another way is to transition from one clip to another. So doing speed ramps is something that you can apply to your clips where you take a keyframe ramp and you change the speed of that clip, whether it's going from slow to fast, fast to slow, or any kind of combination that you guys want to do. So something important to note when you guys are doing your edits is that changing those speed ramps and even just changing the speed of your regular clips tells something to the viewer and the person that's watching. If you slowed something down drastically and it's very slow compared to the clips around it, it means there's some sort of importance to that clip, something we should be noticing, something we should be seeing. It's putting emphasis on that particular part of the video. So don't overuse it, don't make everything slow motion, don't make every clip have a speed ramp of slow motion. It's nice to use it in combination with normal speed clips and slow clips, and you can put them all in together and you end up with a really nice flow. So if there's something important happening, maybe it's a motorbike riding on some sand and it kicks up some sand, you might want to slow that part down to really emphasize all that sand and that crazy movement, and then speed it up again to show that motorbike or buggy going really fast and showing the speed of that clip. It's not going to be as effective if just the whole thing is just really slow. It gives a kind of drawn out feeling. So remember not to overuse slow motion, as fun as it is and as awesome as it makes your clips look. If you just slow them all the way down after filming them in 120 FPS, refrain from doing that on every single clip, because overall your video is going to turn out way nicer. Before we move on to the next tip, which is going to be a game changer of a tip, I'm going to take a second to speak about the sponsor of today's video, which is Zyro. Zyro is an online website builder that makes it really, really easy for anyone to build a website, whether you guys want a portfolio or an e-commerce site, if you want to sell products, or maybe you want to sell some of your filmmaking assets like presets or LUTs. Zyro is an amazing platform to do that. They have a really easy drag and drop system, making it like ridiculously simple to build a website. Anyone can do it. They have some amazing discounts going on right now, and if you sign up for a yearly subscription, you get 3 months completely free if you use the link in the top of my description. Otherwise, you can use the code Sean, like this that you see on the bottom of the screen here. That's going to apply the same discount. So if you guys are looking to get a website, which any creator should have, for a standalone portfolio, remember to go and check out the link in the description or use that code Sean to get that huge discount on your Zyro website. Okay, one of my favorite tips is to make sure that you're focusing on where the person's eyes that is watching your video is going to be focusing on the screen when you guys are cutting between your clips. Because I want to show you guys two different sequences here. The one, you're going to have to notice that whenever I cut a clip, I'm taking note of where that person's eyes are in frame. If it's in the top right thirds, for example, and I cut to a different clip where the point of focus is on the other side of the screen, all of a sudden the person that's watching that video is gonna have to swap their eyes, figure out where they're supposed to be looking in that shot in particular, and it doesn't make it flow as nicely. And a really nice way that you guys can cut between clips and give them a more seamless feel is to make sure that the point of interest on your screen stays in the same place between those clips. It doesn't have to be exact, but it can be kind of in that same general area. And another thing that you can do nice is move that around from one clip that's playing out some sort of different action where your point of interest moves in that frame, and then you can cut to a different one where that is going to be on the other side of the frame, for example. So take a look at these two different sequences. I'm going to put a little marker where the point of focus on the screen is. Obviously that wouldn't really be there, but it will give you guys an idea of how your eyes might have to jump around that screen if you're not putting any attention into your cuts between clips that have different points of interest. So take a look at the first one, and this is going to be the bad example. So you guys can see that your eyes were kind of jumping around in frame. It's not awful, but now let's take a look at the second option, which is keeping that in mind and guiding your viewers' eyes around that frame to exactly where you want them to be. And let's see how much more of a flow that little edit has between those cuts of different clips. Let's roll it. Hopefully you guys will agree that the second one has much more of a flow to it and works out a lot better than just having those cuts and eyes jumping all over the screen trying to figure out what's going on. I don't really know where I'm supposed to be looking on the screen. It makes it a little bit more difficult to watch and not as flowy between those clips. Just before I go to my next angle, I just wanted to show you guys how much of a mission it is every time I want to move shots. I have to reset up everything. I have the camera, of course, which I have to move to my new angle, but then I also have this, which is filming all of my audio. Need to move that. And then I also need to move my main key light to make sure that I'm nice and lit up. Get my audio right close to where I'm going to be sitting. And lastly, move the camera. And then I sit down in the new frame and pretend like it was super easy to just move from one to the next. But it gives it much more of an interesting feel with the scenes changing the whole time. It makes it interesting, hopefully improves audience retention on YouTube. And the next tip is gonna be about cutting on the beat, because I'm sure you guys have heard about cutting on the beat and how important it is for you to cut where the music changes or you have that certain beat. But in my opinion, there's a couple different little flares that you can add onto this, and you shouldn't always be cutting on the beat every single time. You need to have little different pockets of pacing so you can cut in different places on the beat. It's gonna give your video a much more interesting feel, whereas if you cut on the same beat every single time, it's gonna become predictable for the person watching that video, and they're gonna expect the scene to change to a new clip. So mix it up, have a couple little fast cuts, and then have a long drawn out clip, maybe a slow motion one to put emphasis on that one, and then have a fast one or two, and then a slow one, and just really listen to that music and see how you can flow that edit with the music, because the music isn't doing the same thing the whole time. It might have those consistent beats and bars, but there's other things happening in there that makes it really interesting. That's what I'm going to leave you guys with. Remember, if you want to check out Zyro, they are an amazing website builder, super easy to use, and you get a huge discount if you click on the link in the description or you use the code Sean when you are signing up for that yearly subscription. Other than that, I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.